Okay, let's talk about filing. You can never file just in the air holding something. You really shouldn't file just leaning something against the counter. You should secure it. Put it in a vise, put a bench dog in the vise and clamp it to that, but somehow hold your work so that it doesn't move, because you really want to be able to attack this thing. I always try and keep my work horizontal. I might even use a level to make sure it's horizontal, because my body and my brain are aware of this room, and there are a lot of visual clues about horizontality. Also, I can stand with my feet pretty far apart, and I have a real sense of what is flat. If I'm doing it on any angle, I'll be making stuff up. This is the handy file. One side's coarse, one side's fine. Remember, files only cut on the push. So to file correctly, you just want to push. If you ever see somebody doing this, all they're doing is ruining their file and rounding over the edges of what they're filing. If you position your file flat on the edge and push in one strong, solid stroke, using your whole body, you will produce a flat edge. So if your goal is to file the end of a piece of stock flat, you want to make sure your feet are fully apart, your hands are at either end of this file, and you're really aware that you're starting and stopping your stroke in the middle of the file, and there's no opportunity for that to go anywhere else. You're not going to round it over, you're not going to round it over this way, you're just going to keep your file level and push. Also, after a few strokes, your file may get full of metal chips. You can use the file card to comb through the grooves of the file and get those metal chips out. You can use the brush as well. Every once in a while, you may get a piece that's really lodged in there. You can take a scribe and scratch it out. If you keep your file clean, the chips shouldn't back up in a way that they're going to jam it. If you're trying to make a nice filed surface, you can use the coarse file to get down to where you want. And then when you've removed all the larger obstacles, you can turn it over and use the smoother side. I ruin my clothes when I'm filing, because in addition to the file card, every few strokes I'll just do that to clean the file off. You will feel on here, if you've got metal chips in here, you'll feel them in between the file and the metal, sort of making a grit. So I just try never to wear nice clothes when I know I'm going to be filing, or wear an apron or something. So I don't know if you can see that edge, but now I've got it so that the only marks on here are from my file. There's no more horizontal marks from the bandsaw. I've just got one smooth surface produced by this file. You can really, if you press, you can really remove metal. You can file a lot off of there. You can also mess it up. Then I'm going to switch to the smoother side. I might even file in a slightly different direction so that I can see the marks on the surface changing as I file. And I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to clean the file off more. When I really get this surface where I want it, if I'm trying to file this square, I'll keep checking. When I'm closer to where I want to be, I'll switch and hold the file this way and file, instead of filing diagonally across, which is the way to remove metal and flatten, I now want to produce a nice surface. So I'm going to hold my file this way. I'm going to imagine I'm looking right through that file at the surface of the metal where I'm cutting it, and I'm just going to do really short, deliberate strokes. And I'm going to keep checking, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not removing anything from the wrong place. And I'm going to do that until I have one beautiful, smooth, square surface. Oh, I could do this all day. This is so satisfying. When I grow up, I want a job where I just stand and file all day long. Ooh, careful what you wish for. Would that be fun, or would that be terrible? Some other things you might have to do with a file. I've got sharp edges now, so I want to break those with the file, remove them. I could do it just standing up and using the file on an angle. It depends on how accurate you want to be, how much you have to do of it. So that did a nice job of just getting the burr off of there. If I wanted the same angle around this whole piece, if I were doing a chamfer, or if I just wanted to be neat, I would clamp a bench dog in the vise I could put my work on it, and that way, while I'm filing horizontally in a way my body understands, I'm producing consistent results around this whole piece. If I wanted to round the end over, I would clamp my work in the vise. And again, if the angle mattered, I would take time to make sure that that was horizontal. So I'm going to round this end over. I'm going to start. And if I were doing this properly, I would have scribe lines to show me on both sides where to file to. But this is just a demo. So again, I'm only filing by pushing. I'm holding the file by both ends. I'm being very certain about what I'm doing. I might take that down on a 45, getting close to where I want, and then switch and start actually filing in a rotational way. And this shouldn't be freeform. If I had scribe lines, I would know exactly where the radius hits the edge, and I wouldn't file past that. Right now, I'm just focused on rounding the edge over and making sure that I'm keeping the edge square to the surfaces. Some things to keep in mind with a file. This is a handy file. It's the most generic, useful file. It has fine cut on this side, one set of lines. Double cut, a coarse cut on this side, so it removes more material. It has teeth on one edge, so if you need to file in a groove or in a corner, and the other side has no teeth. It has a handle that's never comfortable, but at least it's a handle. Other files, which are not called handy files, have a spike at the end, and that's designed to go into a handle. I am lazy and under-equipped, so all my files just have a spike at the end, and I hold them until I have a problem on my hand, or I wrap tape around them. This is the right way to do it. Have a handle. So 90% of the filing I ever do is just with a handy file. There are lots of other files. There's a round file. There's an extremely coarse file for aluminum or wood. Here's a square one if you had to file in a groove, in an opening. There are big files like that. There are also itty-bitty files. And when you describe them, you have to say it like that. They're itty-bitty files in all different shapes. These are called jeweler's files because they're mostly for smaller things. They also sometimes have a knurled handle, a little bit of a handle, but oftentimes are quite difficult to hold, and you can get handles for them as well. The two biggest mistakes students make are filing unsupported by just holding stuff up somewhere, and filing back and forth, sawing across things. Big sturdy steel like that is a real satisfaction to file. It's easy to file because it offers lots of resistance. It's much more challenging to file something thin and flimsy like this metal. So again, I want to support it as much as possible so that it doesn't move around. I'm going to file along here. I could hold it this way and file along here. But what most people do is put it way out here and file and have everything bend. Or, even worse almost, clamp a piece of metal in the vise way, way, way up high, and then do this. And then wonder why they're getting bad results. So if you have to, for any reason, clamp something in a vise, just move it down as far as you can so the metal's supported. I wouldn't even leave this much up. I would put wood on either side so I could have less, and it's never going to be nice this way. So most of your filing success will come from positioning your work and your body, making sure your file is clean. I think that's all there is to say about files. Boom!